After Canada and Greenland, Donald Trump now has turned his gaze towards Indian Ocean. Reportedly, he wants to buy Chagos Island from the United Kingdom, and this island is believed to be one of the most strategic islands in the Indian Ocean from the perspective of both UK's and United States national security. And where in this entire discussion Mauritius comes in, what kind of island is it, and what kind of significance does it hold for both countries? Let us try to understand in detail. Now, first of all, to have a geographical understanding of which area we are talking about, as we can say this, see, this is the map of Indian Ocean, and somewhere in the central Indian Ocean is an archipelago. Archipelago basically is referred as a group of islands. So the archipelago is called as Chagos Archipelago. It is British Indian Ocean territory, and you will find about 60 islands in this large archipelago located in the Indian Ocean. And in this Chagos region, the largest island is Rio Garcia. Now, this island themselves are example of coral islands. Basically, we can say Diego Garcia is nothing but an example of atoll. So basically, it is a horseshoe type of island which is surrounded by water from all the sides and have lagoon. And these islands are not very high from sea level. They are mostly about 5 to 8 meters above sea level. But again, despite being atoll, despite being surrounded by water from all the sides, even in the central part having lagoon, this island is very important and crucial for the security of United States of America as well as United Kingdom. It holds one of the largest military bases that UK and US have in the Indian Ocean region, and also they provide them the opportunity to strike anywhere in the entire, we can say, Middle Eastern region and all that. That's why we can understand that this Diego Garcia base was heavily used by UK during the Gulf War or the earlier crisis in the West Asia. That's why it also is rightly described as unsinkable aircraft carrier that US has in the Indian Ocean. Now, that's why we can say that the island holds a major military importance as far as the UK, EU and US is concerned. That's why Donald Trump is very much interested here. Now, let us try to understand. Basically, in 2024, United Kingdom and Mauritius reached a deal, and there it was decided that UK would transfer the sovereign control of this archipelago to Mauritius. It will replenish its control, which it gained during the colonial era, and an agreement was finally reached somewhere in 2024. However, because Diego Garcia of the Chagos Archipelago holds such a huge military significance for the countries, it was decided that it would be excluded from the transfer process. Security arrangement that countries have here would be retained as such, and to some extent it was felt that Donald Trump also is willing to give a green light to this particular transfer. Now, let us first of all try to understand about the Diego Garcia base and why Trump took a U-turn. Because before Trump said that he's okay with the transfer of Chagos Archipelago to the Mauritius, later on he said that it is a stupid decision, and that's why he is not willing to go ahead with this decision. That is the reason why in April again UK also has to stop this transfer. So, if you look at the strategic location of Diego Garcia, it is clear that because of its location in the central Indian Ocean, it acts as a central or nodal point of military corridor between the Atlantic Ocean in the west and the Indian Ocean in the east. Also, because of the rising competitiveness and security threat that UK and US and Western countries generally can face due to the rise of China as a military and economic superpower, having control over such island becomes more critical and vital. All kind of military operations these island is able to support, and not only that, because the island provide opportunity for the development of deep water ports, it can also and actually acts as a key logistic hub. That is why we can say it is also a very important spoke in the overall economic chain of this entire region. So that's why it is considered as a vital western asset. Now, as far as the UK is concerned and transfer of the sovereignty of Diego Garcia of the Chagos Island to the Mauritius is concerned, UK has retained this particular base on a 99-year lease. That was the actual plan. Lease period would be extended for 99 years more from now on, and the military presence that these countries have on Diego Garcia will continue. They'll keep on operating their bases. They'll keep on using this as a military asset. Security cooperation both countries have with each other and also with the Mauritius would be maintained, and for this deal to finally come to fruition, a long-term arrangement also need to be made between both, actually we can say between three countries, that is UK, US and Mauritius. Now, Trump, as I told you initially, he was in support of this particular deal, but later on, actually if you look at January, in the month of January last year, he approved in the month of July last year, he approved the deal. But again, in the month of January this year, he has withdrawn his approval. He even wrote a big message on his social media post Truth Social, where he has stated that UK has made a stupid decision while deciding to transfer the sovereignty over the Chagos archipelago to Mauritius. Shockingly, our brilliant NATO ally UK is currently planning to give away the island of Dio Garcia to Mauritius and all that. And he said that it is not good because it will be taken advantage of by both Russia and China, which act as a challenge and threat to the Western countries. Now, he called this deal stupid, and also he raised that security concern would be there if such action actually takes place. Negotiations become thus more complicated. UK was willing to negotiate and reach a deal with Mauritius, but because of this kind of statement and the unwillingness of Donald Trump, we can say that UK also has said that they will not do anything without the approval or without bringing US on the board as such. Now, if you look at the proposed purchase route, what is UK Mauritius deal if it proceeds? So first of all, US would enter the negotiation because they have strong interest here, vital interest here in talks with Mauritius. And there's a possibility that island, rather than being put on deal, might be purchased for continuous period, or we can say permanently as such, and thus a permanent access would be granted to these countries. That is the objective of White House. Now, as far as the financial dimension of this deal is fixed, as of now, since the deal has not entered the final stage, there is no purchase price fixed for it. However, it is believed that the lease itself, which for 99 years, if UK would have gotten it, then it would have costed about $46.7 billion. That's major financial commitment, and that's why Mauritius is seeking more fund if the island has to be permanently transferred to UK and US so they can operate their base there. Cost, however, still remains uncertain, and that is the first dimension. Second is the UK's response itself is something similar to what you can call as expected from UK, because they cannot sell this island, they cannot buy this island, they cannot transfer it without the approval of US. So deal was paused in April because of the pressure from White House, from President Trump, and further review was initiated. Discussion continuously is going on in the White House. As per report, the Prime Minister's office of UK and the White House are in continuous deliberation, discussion, and want to come to a common term. There is no unilateral action. That is the direct message being given by UK Prime Minister's office, that UK would not take any action without taking US on board as such, and that's where the future negotiations seems to be ongoing. Now, apart from all these financial dimensions, the strategic dimensions, the UK-US tussle, Mauritius role, we can say, the other controversy also is related to sovereignty, because many people believe that it is a loss of British territory, which obviously will have security implications. But many people who are living on this archipelago, they say that since they were born on British soil, their parents were born on British soil, that's why they are British citizens. So the transfer of these islands back to Mauritius, how is it going to affect their nationality? Whether they will be transferred from being a British citizen to a Mauritian citizen, that is something where also a lot of protest is being observed. Plus, definitely from the Western perspective, there is a risk or a strategic risk in the Indo-Pacific Ocean if this island goes out of control from the UK and US, as they lose a vital military base here, giving further assertiveness, giving further, we can say, boost to the assertiveness of China in the Indo-Pacific region. Plus, financial dispute also is expected, because the financial commitment for having control over this island is humongous in nature, especially given the global GDP decline, we can saying, and global geopolitical energy crisis that we are seeing unfolding due to the West Asian war. So the future remains uncertain. What will happen about to the Chagos archipelago? Who will retain control over Diego Garcia, and how this control would be retained? Whether it will be forceful, whether it will be based on negotiation consensus, or whether it will be financial purchase. So that's what we have to wait, watch, and see how this entire situation evolves. But the key takeaways from this entire discussion is simple. Trump is exploring acquisition over these islands because he wants to have a permanent control over this island. Second, Diego Garcia is a central factor in the entire Chagos archipelago dispute and deliberations. UK Mauritius talk still remains in the unresolved state because of the US angle, and the entire discussion and deal, no matter how it comes into fruition, what actually happens, definitely will have implications on the regional security. So that's all for this particular video. I hope you understood the entire issue of Diego Garcia and Chagos, geographical, economic, financial implications. Thank you.